Montage is a technique in film editing in which a series of short shots are edited into a sequence to condense space, time, and information. The term has been used in various contexts. It was introduced to cinema primarily by Eisenstein, and early Soviet directors used it as a synonym for creative editing. In France, the word montage simply denotes cutting. The term montage sequence has been used primarily by British and American studios, which refers to the common technique as outlined in this article. The montage sequence is usually used to suggest the passage of time, rather than to create symbolic meaning as it does in Soviet montage theory. From the 1930s to the 1950s, montage sequences often combined numerous short shots with special optical effects, dance and music. They were usually assembled by someone other than the director or the editor of the movie. Development. The word montage came to identify specifically the rapid, shot cutting that Eisenstein employed in his films. Its use survives to this day in the specially created montage sequences inserted into Hollywood films to suggest, in a blur of double exposures, the rise to fame of an opera singer or, in brief model shots, the destruction of an airplane, a city or a planet. Two common montage sequence devices of the period are a newspaper one and a railroad one. In the newspaper one, there are multiple shots of newspapers being printed and headlines zooming onto the screen telling whatever needs to be told. There are two montages like this in It Happened One Night. In a typical railroad montage, the shots include engines racing toward the camera, giant engine wheels moving across the screen, and long trains racing past the camera as destination signs zoom into the screen. Scroll montage is a form of multiple screen montage developed specifically for the moving image in an internet browser. It plays with Italian theater director Eugenio Barber's Space River montage, in which the spectator's attention is said to sail on a tide of actions which their gaze can never fully encompass. Scroll montage is usually used in online audio-visual works in which sound and the moving image are separated and can exist autonomously. Audio in these works is usually streamed on internet radio and video is posted on a separate site. Noted directors, film critic Ezra Goodman discusses the contributions of Slavoj Vorkapaya, who worked at MGM and was the best-known montage specialist of the 1930s. He devised vivid montages for numerous pictures, mainly to get a point across economically or to bridge a time lapse. In a matter of moments, with images cascading across the screen, he was able to show Jeanette MacDonald's rise to fame as an opera star in Maytime, the outbreak of the revolution in Viva Villa, the famine and exodus in The Good Earth, and the plague in Romeo and Juliet. From 1933 to 1942, Don Siegel, later a noted feature film director, was the head of the montage department at Warner Brothers. He did montage sequences for hundreds of features, including Confessions of a Nazi Spy, Nude Rock, All American, Blues in the Night, Yankee Doodle Dandy, Casablanca, Action in the North Atlantic, Gentleman Jim, and They Drive by Night. Siegel told Peter Bogdanovich how his montages differed from the usual ones. Montages were done then as they're done now, oddly enough very sloppily. The director casually shoots a few shots that he presumes will be used in the montage, and the cutter grabs a few stock shots and walks down with them to the man who's operating the optical printer and tells him to make some sort of mishmash out of it. He does, and that's what's labeled montage. In contrast, Siegel would read the motion picture's script to find out the story and action, then take the script's one-line description of the montage and write his own 5-page script. The directors and the studio bosses left him alone because no one could figure out what he was doing. Left alone with his own crew, he constantly experimented to find out what he could do. He also tried to make the montage match the director's style, dull for a dull director, exciting for an exciting director. Of course, it was a most marvelous way to learn about films, because I made endless mistakes just experimenting with no supervision. The result was that a great many of the montages were enormously effective. Siegel selected the montages he did for Yankee Doodle Dandy, The Adventures of Mark Twain, and Confessions of a Nazi Spy, as especially good ones. I thought the montages were absolutely extraordinary and the adventures of Mark Tenier are not a particularly good picture, by the way. Analysis of two typical examples, the two montage sequences in Holiday and show the two basic montage styles. The focus of the movie is an inn that presents elaborate nightclub shows only on the holidays. The film was in production when the United States entered World War II. The first montage occurs during the Independence Day show, as Bing Crosby sings Song of Freedom. The 50-second montage combines several single-screen sequences of workers in an aircraft factory and various military units in motion with multiple split screens, with up to 6 images in one shot. The penultimate shot shows a center-screen headshot of General Douglas MacArthur in a large star with military images in the four corners. The second montage occurs near the end of the film, showing the passage of time. Unlike the clarity of the Song of Freedom montage, this one layers multiple images in an indistinct and dreamlike fashion. In the film, the character played by Fred Astaire has taken Crosby's partner, Marjorie Reynolds, to star in a motion picture based on the idea of the inn. The 60-second montage covers the time from Independence Day to Thanksgiving. It opens with a split screen showing 3 shots of Hollywood buildings and a zoom title, Hollywood. Then comes a zoom into a camera lens where Astaire and Reynolds are seen dancing to a medley of tunes already introduced in the film. The rest of the sequence continues to show them dancing, with multiple images of motion picture cameras, cameramen, a director, musical instruments, single musical notes, sheet music and dancers' legs circle around them. Several times 6 images of themselves also circle the dancers. Only the opening shot uses a clearly defined split screen and only the second shot is a single shot. Both of these styles of montage have fallen out of favor in the last 50 years. Today's montages avoid the use of multiple images in one shot either through split screens as in the first example or layering multiple images as in the second. Most recent examples use a simpler sequence of individual short, rapidly paced shots combined with a specially created background song to enhance the mood or reinforce the message being conveyed. Sports training use. The sports training montage is a standard explanatory montage. It originated in American cinema but has since spread to modern martial arts films from East Asia. Originally depicting a character engaging in physical or sports training, the form has been extended to other activities or themes. Conventions and cliché copyright equals. The standard elements of a sports training montage include a build-up where the potential sports hero confronts his failure to train adequately. The solution is a serious, individual training regimen. The individual is shown engaging in physical training through a series of short, cut sequences. An inspirational song typically provides the only sound. At the end of the montage several weeks have elapsed in the course of just a few minutes and the hero is now prepared for the big competition. One of the best-known examples is the training sequence in the 1976 movie Rocky, which culminates in Rocky's run up the steps of the Philadelphia Museum of Art. The simplicity of the technique and its overuse in American film vocabulary has led to its status as a film cliché copyright. A notable parody of the sports training montage appears in the South Park episode, Aspen, noted above. When Stan Marsh must become an expert skier quickly, he begins training in a montage where the inspirational song explicitly spells out the techniques and requirements of a successful sports training montage sequence as they occur on screen. The same song was later used in Team America, World Police in a similar sequence. In Once More, with Feeling, an episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Buffy Summers does an extended workout while Rupert Giles sings one song. This distortion of time is one of numerous musical conventions made literal by a spell affecting Sunnydale. Prior to this sequence, Buffy Summers voices her concern that this whole session is going to turn into some training montage from an 80s movie, to which Rupert Giles replies, "Well, if we hear any inspirational power chords we'll just lie down until they go away." Ironically, the original 1992 film of Buffy the Vampire Slayer includes a very cliché copyright training montage. References. External links: movie montages at cracked.com, montages at TV Tropes.